Thank you all so much for joining us today. My name is Catherine Alford. I'm the Communications Manager for the Network of Enlightened Women. I've been working with NEW for over a year now, and our team is all remote. So I've been working from home for just over a year now, and have learned what tricks work for me and how I stay productive throughout the day. So I'll be sharing some of my tips. And then we also have Sophie joining us. Sophie is a senior at Catholic University. So she is studying from home right now since her school has moved online for the next few weeks at least, maybe rest of the semester. Is it all the way?
Yeah, the rest of the semester now.
Okay. And then Sophie's also our campus program fellow for NEW. And so she also works remote for our team. So we're going to share some of our tips from both a professional standpoint, but also as a student, and sharing what that looks like to study and work from home. A little bit about NEW, but a big part of NEW is bringing community, creating a community for young women. We're grateful to have the technology to be able to do things like this, to be able to continue to bring you guys the exclusive professional development resources, host policy discussions, and support our members here online during this time when we're not able to get out and be with each other in person. So we're working hard to give our network the resources that you guys have come to expect from NEW. So that's why we're doing things like this today. We're also going to be doing an equal pay day discussion next week here on Facebook Live with Karen Lips, our president of the organization. So I'll share more about what we're doing online at the end, but just wanted to let you guys know, please feel free, comment, leave your questions in the comments. We would love to answer them. We'll get to them at the end. And then we want to just have a conversation and hopefully share some tips that will help you guys as you start. So some of the questions we wanted to start with is, how do I create a personal space from my workspace? Creating personal time versus work time. That's really hard, especially when you're in the same space. So one of my key things that I like to do is I establish a workspace. So I have a desk in our guest bedroom where I have all of my work materials. I always have my cup of coffee, my computer, my planner to keep me organized, a notebook, and I create a space for myself with all of the tools that I need to be successful throughout the day. Sometimes it's headphones if I'm wanting to listen to music and my husband's home for the day, a phone charger to keep me plugged in, some of my favorite pens, anything that helps you be productive. That's how I create my space. Sophie, how would you say you create kind of your space?
So I was lucky enough that when I moved back home to New Jersey, I was able to put a desk in our guest room, which was a huge factor in helping me establish a workspace that I could be doing work at. But while at school, I made sure not to do any work from my bed. It's really easy to lie in bed and have your laptop out, sitting through your Zoom lectures or doing your homework in there. But especially when you're doing everything from home, by doing that, you really have a hard time separating work from your regular Netflix watching and things like that. So even if you don't have a separate space to go, I recommend even setting up a little makeshift desk in your room. In my apartment back at school, actually had this little cubed organizer that I put on the ground and would just sit cross-legged with a pillow under me and use that as a little makeshift desk to give me my own space that wasn't in my bed.
Nice. Yes, definitely being in a place where you feel more professional or just more on. Because if I sit on the couch or if I sit in bed, that's one of those things that I'm not in the right headspace to be working full time. So yes, definitely creating your space. I like to turn on music, especially when I'm home by myself. I'll turn on music on my computer and that just kind of helps me. I listen to a mix of classical and just kind of some random music. But another thing is turn your phone on silent because the notifications always distract. So creating that space. One thing I've even heard is an extreme tip people like to get in the mindset that they are going to work. They get dressed in the morning, they walk out the door, they do a lap around their house or a lap around the building or like the block or whatever, and then they come back. And when they enter, they're in their workspace. And then at the end of the day, when they're leaving work or school or whatnot, they walk out the door, around the block, and come back in, and now they're home for a relaxing evening. So that's an extreme if you really need to like visually or like physically do that. Leave the space and come back in knowing that you're in a new mindset. And one thing I always find is get dressed. Sitting in sweats and PJs, like that helps me significantly when I'm dressed. If I have shoes on, like I feel like I'm going to the office. What are some other kind of tips that you have?
So I actually have been doing that extreme tip of going on walks, not necessarily at the start of the day and the end of the day, but I make my cup of coffee in the morning and my mom and I go and do a lap around the neighborhood if it's nice out. But this has basically been because I was so used to walking at school, and I've noticed that like I get so tired of just staring at the computer screen all day. I don't have those random breaks that were put in throughout my day of walking, you know, going and getting a cup of coffee, things like that. So I tried to incorporate them into my day, getting up, walking around the neighborhood, then making a cup of coffee. If I would have spent like 10 minutes talking to my roommates, I use that time to like see if my sister's out of her classes or talk to my mom if my mom's on a break from work calls, and try to get a little bit of that interaction to mimic the routine that I did have.
Nice. Well, that kind of plays well into our next question. How do you keep a routine? So scheduling is so important, especially when you're working from home. Otherwise, you end up spending an hour on Facebook or watching Netflix, and you lose track of time, and you haven't gotten the projects you need to done for the day. So it's definitely good to keep a consistent schedule. I know for me, like we'll get up, work out in the morning, I get ready as if I was going into an office. I eat my breakfast, make my coffee, and then I sit down to do my work. And I have my days laid out of what tasks need to get done, what meetings I have. Then a big thing for me has been intentionally taking a lunch break. So I step out of the office, I go to the kitchen, I make myself lunch, and then I sit and like watch a show or walk the dog or just kind of get out, get my head out of work for an hour. And that's really helped me kind of take that time during the day, because we all would eat lunch at the office or during the school day. And so I have to physically do that, even if it's just in the same like house. And then once my hour's up, I go back to work, start working through my to-do list again. And then when I leave for the day, I turn everything off and I leave the room, go to the kitchen, start dinner, do that. So what are some of the ways you keep a consistent schedule?
So I personally am a workaholic, and I've noticed that I'm definitely a little bit more productive being at home, but it also has negatives to that because I'm constantly saying to myself, well, I should be doing work now. I can be working. I don't have any place to go. Why am I not working? And I think this is a really easy way to get burnt out. And if you are being more productive at home, it's okay to give yourself those breaks to watch a show or take a break to just sit and talk to family members, because as long as you're getting your work done, that's the most important thing. So I like to make a to-do list of all the things that I need to do. Some of my friends prefer to do block scheduling. So they say, okay, from 9 to 12, I'm in class. And then from like 12 to 3, I'll do homework. And then I'll take a break, and then I'll work on my paper that's due next week. I work better with a little bit more of a flexible scheduling in case something comes up. So I will write out a to-do list of the things that I need. So I'll do one for the day and then more of a master to-do list for the week. So let's say I'm feeling a little bit more productive, I'll go into the things that are supposed to be the next couple of days. That way, let's say those days it's rainy and I don't feel like doing anything, or it's really nice out and I want to spend some more time outside, I have that flexibility in my schedule to do so.
Great. Yeah, definitely the workaholic. It's so easy to be on all the time, especially when you're constantly in the same space. I know for me, when I transitioned to being fully remote, I turn off all work notifications on my phone. So work email, social media, since I'm running all of our social media platforms, I turn those off after the workday. And that just helps me not be constantly checking, not constantly being on. That's really helped me. And that way I'm able to create that space of work time versus personal time. And I'm able to focus on being with my husband in the evening and just kind of relaxing. So great. What are some ways that you would, I know you said you kind of put together a day schedule versus what you want to get done in the week, but do you find yourself going hour by hour, or do you just kind of work task oriented?
Honestly, I do a mix of them. So let's say I know I have a phone call at 12 or I have my Zoom class meeting at 3. I'll put those blocks in so I know not to be doing anything during that time. But for the most part, I just have a list of like, this assignment for Arabic needs to be done. I need to answer these emails, things like that, because some of them are smaller tasks that I know, oh, I have a 15-minute break. I want to get something done. I can look at that and see like what's the low hanging fruit. Like, okay, I can answer 5 emails and get that out of the way.
Yeah. So that's a great example of task scheduling. I tend to do a mix. So some days when I have a number of like smaller tasks and then a couple of bigger tasks, I tend to do that as well. But then there are days where I also have just big projects and I need to dedicate 2 or 3 hours at a time to one project. So sometimes I do a block schedule as well. And so I get up, do my morning routine, and then when I start work, I check email for 30 minutes during the day. And then I sort of minimize my email so it's not as protruding. It's not like that big number, like you have to get back to all of these right now. So I do like that for the first 30 minutes to 45 minutes of the day. And then I dedicate 1 or 2 hours to that one project that needs to get done. I spend that couple hours on that project. And then if I have another big project, I dedicate the next couple hours to that. Give yourself a little grace with 5-10 minutes, but really try and stick to those blocks of time. Take lunch and then come back to those projects. And then if I still need an extra hour on one of those projects, I schedule it in for the next couple days so that those get done. So that's another way to do it, depending on what your schedule is, if it's smaller tasks or if you just need big projects to get done. You can do either kind of a task-oriented or a block schedule.
Going off of timing, Catherine, a lot of my friends have said that their biggest adjustment so far has been getting adjusted to the time change of being at home versus their class schedule at school. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with the time change with you being a different time zone?
Yeah, so our organization is based on the East Coast, so we're Eastern time. And then I just moved to Texas, so I'm now Central time. So one of the tricks that I've learned is I keep all of our work stuff on like a digital calendar, so Google Calendar usually, and I keep all of that on Eastern time. And then every week or every day at the beginning of the day, I use my planner hour by hour, and then I input these on Central time, so that this is what's matching up with what's on my clock on my computer. So that's how I've learned to do that. Another way is you can set your Google Calendar or your iCalendar to be that specific time zone and then do the math in your head. But you gotta be consistent. I've had the problem where like I've been on East Coast time and then I've scheduled something and accidentally meant it for Central time. And so you have to stay consistent. Either make all of your calendar East Coast time and do everything and do the math in your head for every time block, or stick to the time zone you're in and do the math to what it would be. So that's my advice. That's what works for me. But yeah. So great. One thing I know can be challenging is it's not just the fact that we are all working from home now, but the fact that everyone in our house is working from home. So how would you say that you best deal with like your family all being at home? I know you were sharing earlier your sister's in the other room. How do you deal with the fact that mom and dad and sister are all home right now?
It's definitely been the hardest adjustment for me.
Okay.
I use our family group chat a lot, and this is what I used when I was back at school. If I had a call or something, I would just text my roommates and be like, hey, just so you know, I'm in the bedroom. I have a call from this time to this time. Please be quiet. And then I'll do that with my family too. A lot of it's getting to know their schedules. As much of an adjustment it is for you, it's also an adjustment for them. So, like, for example, my sister is taking online dance class right now. So I'll be in the middle of taking an exam or something, and her Broadway show tunes start going. And yes, it's hard, but you just have to try to block that stuff out. Maybe if if you're in a similar situation, go to a different part of the house. If you have an issue with your family coming in and bothering you, one of my friends and her sister actually made, similar to the idea of an RA, they made little printer papers and they just put a whole stack of them on their wall, and it said Zooming, studying, Netflix, working out, things like that. And they have a Post-it note that they put on each thing. So if they're like, it says currently, and then you put it on whatever one you're doing. So currently in Zoom class, currently studying, currently this. That way your family knows what you're doing, and if they can basically walk in. So you prevent them walking into your lecture or phone calls, things like that.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I would say that's a great example. Another thing is just posting a schedule like on your fridge in the kitchen so everyone knows like, okay, like for you from 12:30 to 1, you're on a Facebook Live. Please do not come in. And it's just communicating. It's making sure that they're aware, and hopefully your family has enough respect for you and you have enough respect for them to understand and just communicate that you need privacy from this time to this time. But then lunch and dinner time are maybe the perfect time to hang out. I'm hearing lots of stories of this is time where they're finally playing games and watching movies together as a family. And I mean, it's great and a great opportunity for us to be connecting with our families. But during the workday and the school day and when you're trying to get homework done, just being open and sharing that you need some privacy during that time. It's always good. Great. Well, now we're gonna open it up to questions. Let us know if there is anything you'd like answered. I have some of our team sending me text messages with all of your questions, so we will get to those. But just want to start by saying thank you guys so much for joining us today. This is the first time we're trying this, so thanks so much for bearing with us as we're trying some new technology. But we're going to, hopefully this is successful and we can continue to provide resources online for you guys in the coming weeks and hopefully not months, but however long this virus lasts. Great. Okay, so Sophie, should I start throwing? Okay, let's see. How do you balance being home with your family all the time when you moved away from college? So we kind of touched on that, but how would you say like you find personal time?
Yeah, so again, it's been difficult, but my family's really understanding through all of this. So we have done family dinner pretty much every night, which has been nice. So that's kind of our time. And then they'll normally put on a movie or play games or something like that. But one thing that me and my friends have been doing, both my friends from high school and my friends from college, we've been setting up FaceTime calls, Zoom calls, things like that, just so we can all get together and get that social interaction. So I'll step away from being with them after dinner. Maybe I'll watch the movie with everyone for like 5 minutes and then go upstairs and do like Zoom call with my friends, or I'll just say, all right, I'm going to go upstairs, watch Netflix on my own. Just, again, like you said, communicating is the best thing. It's pretty simple to just be like, keep in contact with them. Let them know what you're doing, that you're just not ignoring them or getting annoyed with your family.
Yeah. Great. How do you avoid turning the TV on or getting on your phone?
I am awful at this. This is my hardest thing. I was very good at not being on my phone during class when I actually went to class. And I've noticed now, especially, I know a lot of people that have Macs have it set up that their texts come through on their computer. So I'll be in the middle of a Zoom lecture and I'll have text pop up. And not only is it distracting to the lecture, but it's also really easy to just zone out and get completely into the conversation you're having with your friends. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. I only learned about this like last week, but on the right hand side of the computer, there's actually, if you click like the little three bars, you can click off, turn off notifications or do not disturb. So I do that when I'm starting all my lectures. And then I'll keep my phone out on the table, but on silent, just in case I have anything like important coming up. But then for the TV, I just don't let myself be in a room with the TV. So there's no TV in our guest room, so I stay out of that. If I'm doing smaller tasks that I can multitask with, then I will go downstairs and sit on the couch. And that's for really small things. But you got to just have the self-discipline to not move into that room that has it. And it's hard and I struggle with it.
Yeah, same, especially on days when like I'm tired. It's so easy to want to just put on a TV show, even in Netflix, like in the bottom corner of my screen. But yeah, just it's getting in the mindset of the fact that I am on right now. I am working, I am in school. Like I wouldn't be doing this if I was at school or in the office. So why would I be doing that now? And I think a lot of it goes back to creating that space where you feel like you are in focused.
Yeah. And give yourself that time that if you do want to, go on TikTok or be on Netflix, you can. My French class is the hardest class for me to sit through without wanting to be on my phone. And I'm lucky that I have an hour break in between my class before that one. So every day so far, what I've been doing is I let myself lie in my bed or on the couch for that hour and just scroll through like TikTok, be on YouTube, go on Netflix or Instagram. That way I kind of have seen like all of the content for that hour. So I'm not tempted to go on and look.
I like that. That's a good point. Good one. Okay. How do you motivate yourself to get up early and start working if you don't have classes to physically get yourself out of bed for?
Well, that's also difficult. I've noticed that actually being home, I go to bed earlier, which has helped a lot. Mainly because I don't have the distraction of being around other people and you have nowhere to go. So going to bed early is a lot easier. But similarly, and this is something that I did at school also before having to be on classes, and this works with the last question of like, how do you stay off of your phone? I block in an hour time where I can be like, okay, I have to wake up at 8, but I don't have to be in class until 11. So I'm going to take this hour in between 8 and 9 to lie in my bed, watch Netflix, go on TikTok, scroll through things. Then I'll get up, make my coffee, and get together for the day.
Nice. Yeah. I find setting alarms earlier than what I actually need to get up for. So I have a couple of alarms that go off before I actually have to wake up. And then, yeah, having that time to wake up on social media or forcing myself to work out in the mornings. I don't know, for me now I have a dog, so I have to take her out to the bathroom, and that forces me out of bed when I'd rather just lay there until work starts. But I've learned that I am much more productive when I am fully dressed and ready to go for the day. So that is also incentivizing. Next question, what's the best way to check in with friends while also respecting them also being busy when working from home?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest adjustments that me and my friends are facing is that the way our colleges handled going online was very different. So some schools and even this differs from professor to professor, are not only getting more work, but they're being told to be online for their full lecture time, that they're doing additional assignments to make up for participation grades, that now they're expected to do corrections to papers because they have the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And other schools are more focused on like discussion board posts, and they don't actually have to be in class, or you just need to get me this list of assignments done by the end of the semester. I don't care how you do it. That's just what you have to do. So
Mm-hmm.
I think understanding where your friends kind of are, ask them like how they're doing, and get a feel for what their schedules are like.
Mm-hmm.
This is a huge adjustment time for everyone, and it's hard that you even have to adjust like how you socialize with your friends. But I've noticed that it's definitely a lot easier to try to set up those Zoom calls and FaceTimes with friends later in the evening. But
Mm-hmm.
also remember that like as much as it is being home and you don't have places to go, people still do have their schoolwork to do. So if you have a friend that you know is in the library always, I try to like remember that and put that into perspective, that that friend's probably not going to want to FaceTime on a Tuesday night because that's the time that they normally would be in the library. So they're probably doing that work at home.
Yeah. I think too, just sending a quick text like, hey, are you free? Or is there a time that we can chat in the next day or so, next week or so? Yeah, finding that time to connect. One of our coworkers did like a brunch, like a Zoom brunch. And so, yeah, finding that time with your girlfriends or your group of friends to connect in fun ways. I've seen some organizations doing like a community happy hour over Zoom and different things. But using technology, we're so blessed to have be in this day and age with so much technology at our fingertips. So taking advantage of that, staying connected, FaceTime your grandparents or your your older friends that like you're not able to maybe go see, and just stay in touch that way. So great. Well, I think that's it for today. We're going to wrap this up. But if you guys still have more questions or want to find out more about this topic, Sophie's actually going to be on our Instagram page at Enlightened Women, answering more of your guys' questions at 2:00 Eastern time today. So she's going to get on there and then just kind of recap our conversation and answer any other questions you guys may have. So feel free to join us on Instagram Live this afternoon. We also have some great other programming coming up that we wanted to offer. So this Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on our Instagram Live, we have Mary Catherine Ham and Lindsay Fifield are going to be doing an afternoon stretch break for us. So join us live on Instagram on Friday, and they're going to be just doing a quick 10, 15-minute, like quick stretch break and get yourself moving and take a break from staring at your computer all day. And then next Tuesday on March 31st, that's Equal Pay Day. And so our president, Karen Lips, is going to be here on Facebook Live with a special guest to discuss the narrative of Equal Pay Day and what that represents, and debunking some of the myths around it that we as women are told by liberal feminists. So definitely tune in. We have lots of content. Stay in touch with us over social media. We are posting regular updates on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So stay connected with us there and find out what great opportunities and resources we're coming out with for you guys. So thanks so much for joining us again. We hope to see you guys again soon. Have a great day.